There. Glorious. Let's get to work. There's something about you. Those slurvy curves. Those shining puckery gummers. Those gangly dongle-doos. Yeah, there's no doubt. You're a mess. Get out of my sight. Look like a sloppy, naked mole rat.
Hey.
I wasn't talking to you, Muddy. Who's next?
After lunch, Rayman's coming in.
Rayman? No extensor digitorum, no likey. You know this, Muddy. We've been over it 1,000 times. Cancel it.
Okay.
Muddy, what game are you from anyway?
Eh.
Sorry guys, I'm trying to bring a chunk of physical media back to relevance. I'm working on a beautiful look for a new gaming magazine. Let me tell you, first issue didn't go so great. Welcome to Led by Pixels, the show where you ask the questions, I frantically sketch, and words plop out of my mouth hole. Oh god. Since we're talking eye-catching looks today, I went ahead and found a gorgeous question to answer for you guys. At Cody Shikama asks, which video game art styles do you absolutely adore? Man, this will definitely get me in a creative mindset, thank you, it's just what I need. Right, Muddy? There are plenty of games that look great, have cool designs, and are brought up passionately. Well-known games that really stand out from the crowd, but today I want to focus on a few games or series that you may have missed that are pretty darn purty. Some hidden gems that are a little extra twinkly. Yup, today it's not about what's inside that counts. Sorry, Muddy. It's time to look at face value gorgeousness. The first title on our list follows a beautiful little canine. Oh, you. I want to talk about Okamiden, a game published by Capcom in 2011. Chances are you've heard of Okami. It's an action-adventure game that was released in the last chunk of the PlayStation 2 lifespan. It was well received and has always had a bit of a following. Well, Okamiden is its slightly lesser-known sequel. And when I first heard a sequel was being released, I'm sorry to say I was a little skeptical about anyone trying to bring the charm of the original Okami back again, especially to the two small screens of the Nintendo DS. I mean, Okami was known for its fabulous take on the classic ukiyo-e school of Japanese art. It looked wonderful on the PS2 and also in its transition to the Wii, but despite Okamiden not being developed by the exact same team as the original and being on hardware with, oh, let's be nice and say a little less muscle than a PS2, Okamiden looks amazing. The milky watercolor palette and broad inky brushstroke cel-shaded look of the original is translated wonderfully. The whole game feels like a flowing art piece lovingly whisked in from across the sea. Its world is filled with towns, characters, and importantly, nature that seems freshly tickled onto a wooden canvas. And it's darn freaking adorable to boot. Its chibi protagonist will evaporate your heart. Look at this game. Things in its world always seem to be growing and flowing, and you use your own flowing brushstrokes to solve puzzles and defend yourself. Fighting is fast and fun to look at, too. You'll be juggling enemies artfully while deploying your painting skills to turn the tide of battle. I think Okamiden is great. It oozes style. No other game looks quite like an Okami game. I mean, look at them plants and flowers bloom in the wake of a cutie little wolf. Come on. This is awesome. Next on my list is a good follow-up to the flowing painted look of Okamiden. And again, it's a sequel in a beloved franchise. What are the odds, huh? Well, I sincerely hope I have the pleasure of introducing this one to you. This is Legend of Mana. It was released in 2000 for the original Sony PlayStation. Oh boy, I know a lot of people have a soft spot for Secret of Mana on the Super Nintendo. I get it, it's fun, and like most Mana games, it offers a great co-op action RPG experience. But for me, Secret of Mana never really struck me as an amazing looking game per se. I mean, it looked fine, but it didn't really stand out aesthetically from other 16-bit Square titles at the time. Legend of Mana, on the other hand, this is a different story. It looks incredible. Starting this game for the first time, I remember I was gut-punched with nostalgia. Check this out. Does this not look like something sucked right out of an old picture book you had as a kid? Take a gander with me. I love how every part of the world seems carelessly curvy. The settings of the game all look like they're plucked out of a child's dream. And check out all those warm autumn colors. This feels like a game you should be playing in the fall while you carve a gourd or something. I like the way that the cast of characters looks kind of overly dressed up, something about how bulky they're decked out. Everyone looks and moves kind of awkward and heavy, but in a charming way. Does that make sense? Oh, and the enemy designs are pretty great in the game too. Some really awesome art there. I have to admit that I haven't played a heck of a lot of this one, and I've heard it's kind of divisive with Mana fans. It plays experimental and strays from the story and game progression mold that other Mana games have executed very well. But I really just couldn't make this list without having Legend of Mana here. No lie, from time to time, the art in this game just pops into my head. I think it's so darn pretty. I need to play it more. I will play it more. Next, we're going to start segueing now more from paint to pixel and talk about a developer whose visuals are distinct and, in my opinion, some of the best out there today. This is Dragon's Crown. It was made by Vanillaware, a developer that has a very particular look to its games. You guys probably know some of them because Vanillaware has become pretty popular, with releases and re-releases on the PlayStation 4, 3, and 2 in North America. But there was a time before Vanillaware existed that head developer George Kamatani worked specifically under Atlas with a little push from Sega. And in 1997, a Japan-exclusive Sega Saturn title popped up. A game that shows the first baby steps towards the Vanillaware style that we know today. After working on the pretty popular Dungeons & Dragons franchise, Kamatani's team created a juicy bit of pixel sprite-based eye candy. This is Princess Crown. Okay, I want you to bear with my footage because this is a pain in the butt to play in Japanese. Like I said, it was never released properly overseas, but I mean, it should be released here. Look at this. I could gush about the art style until your ears fall off. We've got these big, gorgeous characters Vanillaware is known for, but here we have precision pixel art mixed in with nice pre-rendered backgrounds. The character designs are fantastic, showing off the intricate costumes and fun, twisty character shapes that are now Vanillaware staples. The European medieval come Japanese animation style here, it's something I can never get enough of. And the characters are built with these awesome shifting sprite layers that only the Sega Saturn could do justice back then. And again here, let's look at color. There's these nice earthy tones with punches of bright and lively colors. Speaking of lively, the characters are designed to be quite emotive, especially enemies. They're adorable, kooky, and sometimes kind of dark and twisted too. For sure, this is on my modest list of games I need to see properly translated and re-released. Who wouldn't buy this? You wouldn't? I'd buy the heck out of this and I'd send you a copy, whether you liked it or not. We're gonna keep digging deep on this list, and this is real deep. We're talking 20,000 leagues deep, dude. The next game was originally released in Japanese arcades way back in 1993. This is In the Hunt. So I had no clue that this game existed for the longest time until I played it on the Sony PlayStation. But check out these sprites. You know I love me some sprites. The look of the machinery in this game is kinda cute, and yet it's so detailed that it looks as though it could really work in real life. I love it. So much of the world around your little submarine is gorgeously destructible, and the game is just filled with beautiful pixel explosions and debris. Which kinda sucks, because you can't sit back and enjoy the view for long before your submarine is peeled open by a torpedo. But when you can sit back and look at this game, whoa. Visually, it's like a wonderfully rust-plated link between late 80s, really early 90s shmups and the age of like, I don't know, Metal Slug? And maybe you've been thinking Metal Slug this whole time, right? Well, In the Hunt was created by some of the same talent that went on to make the Slug games. Shove that in your well-designed cutesy tank and ride it. Whatever that means. Finally, just one more game to talk about today, and this is probably one of the better known titles on this list. It doesn't get a lot of attention these days though, which is a real shame because I think this is one of the most interesting and well executed visual concepts in a console title that I've seen. Released in 2013 for the PlayStation 3, this is Puppeteer. This playable old-timey puppet show is laden with mounds of stitched and glued together components. It feels like you can just reach into your television or monitor and touch everything on the screen, which makes sense when you consider that this game was developed with the PlayStation 3's 3D functionality in mind. The stages in Puppeteer are quite literal stages, flowing with beautifully rendered cloth and wood and little tacks and knickknacks that make everything feel incredible and kind of real. Even the way that the characters are animated in the game emulates something of a live children's show that time forgot. Characters hop, flop, and float around like jittery dolls. The lip sync for dialogue is purposely and hilariously off, like some hard-at-work hands are really behind each scene of the game. The world is hardly ever static, popping in and out around your cute little main character, Kotaro. The overall faux realistic aesthetic really connects with me. It kind of makes me embody the headless protagonist and feel genuinely uncomfortable around the game's massive, ever-looming boss characters. This game is simply stunning. I'm a fan of Tearaway and Little Big Planet too, but stylistically, Puppeteer feels miles ahead of both. It's a tight, awesome-looking experience. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. And hey, that just about wraps it up for today's episode. There you have it. 5 games that look so good, I need an extra big napkin to mop up my drool puddle. And look at this end product. I think I'd buy the heck out of this magazine. It's my masterpiece. What do you think, Muddy? Hey guys, thanks for watching. I'll be mailing out this episode's sketch ASAP. Now, if you dig the show and would like your gaming-related topic or question on the next episode, you can use the hashtag #LedByPixels on the ol' Tweety Twitter. Thanks again, and hope to hear from you soon.